Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to continue that birthstone series with Sapphire. That's right, that's the birthstone for September, and if you know, you know. My firstborn is a September baby. He was born in September and his birthstone is Sapphire. Now I can almost promise you he is not going to care at all about this mandala or this rock, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to give it my very best attempt in his honor because I just love that kid so much. This one goes out to you, Punk. All right, so I've got a 4.5-inch stone. I've given it 2 coats of black base paint, and now I need to get some guidelines on it. I'm going to be using my 4.5-inch DIY stencil. Y'all, this is a digital download you can pick up in my Etsy shop, and you can have it printed out and ready to go in minutes. I'm going to use a watercolor pencil, and I'm going to get started. Y'all, I'm completely obsessed with my DIY stencils right now. Ever since I found that Japanese hole press, here's a picture of one I'll throw up on the screen right now. Ever since I found this tool, it is making the perfect little holes in my stencils. So now I can just kind of, I've cut that hole out, and I'm going to take my watercolor pencil, and I am going to just add that line back. When I'm finished, I'm going to be completely done with this stencil, and all I'll have to do at that point is basically connect the dots and add a few rings, easy peasy. Now, since I used a Happy Dotting Company stone mold for this rock, I've got to remove that center marker. It has done its job and it has held my stencil in place for me, but now I need to pop it off. I use a little sharp object called an awl. I just seriously scratch it right off, and then I'm ready to connect the dots and get these guidelines done. With that center marker out of the way, all we have to do is take a flexible ruler and we can make the segment marks all the way across. You'll notice I have my middle finger on one mark, I have my thumb down on the bottom mark, and I keep my index finger in the middle. I have 3 points, and I just go round and round. It keeps them perfectly in line, and I am getting some really good, consistent guidelines using this method. Now I'm getting out my compass. I'm going to put the pointy end in the center and the pencil end on the first dot, and I am just going to spin it round and round. There's no need to measure anything. The stencil's already done it for you. All you got to do is have some fun. I love doing this part. I'm super tickled with these guidelines. So now all it's left to do is think about the paint. As I look over all of the birthstones we've done so far in this series, they look so incredible. And so far, all I've done is look around my art room and pull out whatever I have that color. Well, I went to start collecting things for this project, and I came up pretty short-handed. And hey, this is my son's birthstone. I got to do something really special, so I did something I'd never done before, y'all. I ordered supplies just for this rock, and I can't wait to use them. So keep in mind that I went shopping. I did not have all of this on hand. But like I do in every video, I'm going to leave links down in the description so that you can find all of the supplies you want. All right, now it is time to get started. If this is your birthday month, if you're a Sapphire baby, I just want to give you a great big shout out and tell you happy birthday. I want you to comment down below. Let me know it's your birthday, and I am going to wish you the very best. Now let's get painting. So I picked out this 12mm tool for my first dot, but y'all, I'm totally scared I'm not going to get it just perfectly in the center. So I want to show you a little trick I do. I hold up the tool and I grab my compass, and then I make the compass the same width as about half of that tool. I guess in this instance, it would be 6mm. Anyway, once I have the compass adjusted to half the width of that tool, I make a circle in the middle of my rock, and it gives me the perfect little circle to aim for when I'm putting down that first dot. I hope that helps y'all. It really does help me. All right, let me get out the rhinestones that I ordered for this project. It had some that looked like little petals in there, and I wanted to make a little flower in the middle. Now, it came with some tweezers and its own wax. Oh my gosh, that just happened. Well, you know what? I'm always going to know what pencil came with these sapphire stones. Anyway, let me pick out the stones that I want to use for this rock. I'm curious to see how many I have, and I need to do just a little bit of planning. It looks like each one of these compartments has 10 rhinestones in it. I wish it had more, but that means I can only use 8 because I've got like 16 spots going around. That's okay. I'll just do it in every other one. It looks like the rhinestones I picked out are a little bit too long to go in between all of those guidelines, so I'm going to have to get a wet cotton swab and erase those guidelines at the back. The reason why I do that is sometimes the glue will squish out from underneath that rhinestone, which is fine. It dries clear. It's not going to hurt anything. But if that glue squishes out over that guideline, there's no way you're going to be able to erase that guideline later, and you might see it, and then it's just, ugh. Anyway, if that does happen to you, if you miss this step, just know you can go ahead and paint over that guideline with black. The black paint will go over the glue and cover it up. It won't look as good, but it will save your project. I'm getting out the one paint that I had on my art desk. It is this blue sapphire from Folk Art. Y'all, I promise you, this paint is every bit of 5 years old. I think all of my Folk Art metallics I've had for at least that long. They're still going. They're a little weird consistency. I'm sure it's just because they're so old, but I mean, they're still working. So I'm just putting a big dot here. I'm going to put it right up. I'm trying to center it in all of those guidelines there. And then I'm going to use my fine line brush to pull out a big teardrop. I'm trying to make great big petals here. Now, I know using my paintbrush is a little bit different than what you may have seen before. A lot of people, including me, use a fine tip stylus to pull out your teardrops with. That is fine. That's how I've done it forever. But lately, I have really been using this fine line brush to do it. I don't know. I feel like I'm doing such a better job with it. And if nothing else, I'm really enjoying it much, much more. Rummaging around my art room, I found 2 different blues in that Arteza set from Debbie B. This one is a sky blue. Now, this is a heavy bodied paint, y'all. We're going to add some pouring medium to it. I use about 50% of the paint and 50% of the pouring medium, stir them together, and it seems to be just fine for dotting. I want to use this paint to make a few fine lines, so I'm going to dip out a little bit, and then I'm going to add some of my Flow Aid medium to it. That's just going to make it flow off my brush. It's going to thin it a little bit and make it easier to paint with. All right, so now I'm going to stick these rhinestones straight to the paint. The dots that I'm putting these on, they're not quite dry, but they're not extremely wet either. They're just still pretty sticky, a little tacky. So I just stick it right to it. I know in the end, I'm going to resin over everything. All of these rhinestones are going to get sealed into place with that resin, so I don't worry too much. If you're not going to do that, you might want to go ahead and add a little glue to it as well. Oh, y'all, I am loving these colors. It's getting late, so I'm going to go ahead and stop here for the night, let it completely dry, and I'll be back in the morning and we'll start again. Okay, while everything's completely dry, I'm going to go ahead and get a wet Q-tip and I'm going to remove some of the guidelines, all the guidelines that I don't think I'm going to use again. The reason I do this is it gives me a better view of the mandala. Y'all, I'm designing this as I go, and sometimes those guidelines make me think that the design is more full than it is, or that it's messier than it is. And when I get those guidelines off of there, it's like, oh, okay, what do we got to work with? So it just gives me a cleaner picture. You don't have to do it until the very end. I just kind of like to do it as I go. When I remember to do it as I go, sometimes I forget. Anyway, this sheen paint that I'm using to walk the dots with, I purchased just for this project. I had some early on when I started painting, and I remember getting rid of them for only because I couldn't get them out of my paint trays very well. They didn't want to peel out. I know that sounds so silly. But as I'm using them right now, I am totally reminded the consistency of them is a little bit different. I'm going to have to recommend wiping your dotting tool off often because it seems to collect the paint on there. And then it's, instead of using like a 1mm tool, it feels more like a 1.5mm because it's full of paint. Okay, this is the other blue that I picked out of that Arteza set. It is called Electric Blue. I'm going to mix it up just like I did that Sky Blue, 50% of the heavy bodied paint and 50% of the pouring medium. I'm going to try out this little paint mixing tool that my friend Kathleen sent me. And so far, I'm not sure what to think about it. I feel like it's not getting around the edges of my paint palette. If I was using those little paint cups that people use, this would be like the most awesome tool. But when I try going around the edges, it's like it's spitting it out everywhere. Y'all tell me what I'm doing wrong. Oh no, you guys, I totally forgot to remove my guidelines, and here I am putting that adhesive right on them. It is just a recipe for disaster, I promise you. So I'm going to take the time, I'm going to wipe off the paint, and I'm going to wipe off those guidelines. So I started using a 3mm tool. I'm trying to put 3 dots between these 2 segments in the guidelines, and it was a little too small. So I moved it up to a 3.5mm, and I just dotted right back over it. That looked pretty good, and so now I'm good to go. I always start in the middle, and then I put a dot on either side. It just kind of helps me keep everything a little bit more symmetrical. All right, I'm kind of looking at my paints and wishing I had just a little bit different of a color. So I'm going to take this electric blue and I'm going to add 3 drops of this navy paint to it and see if I can't darken it up just enough to be different. And then I'm going to kind of scatter it here and there throughout the mandala because I want to darken it up just a little bit. I feel like sapphire is just darker than this. I don't know if that makes sense. All right, as I'm adding these great big thick dots to the side, we all know that gravity is just going to have its way with them. I probably should have thickened them up or something, but I didn't think of it. So I'm looking at it now and I can already see them gravitating towards the bottom and thinking, oh, okay, well, we're going to make some teardrops, y'all. Not all mistakes need to be fixed. Sometimes they just need to be worked with. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I look at it. As I'm walking the dots around the bottom, I'm using this paint that I'm not really familiar with, and it's given me trouble. It's probably my fault because I don't know how to use it properly, but some of the dots are running together. I'm just letting it happen, and I'm noticing at the bottom where I'm walking the dots down at that smallest point, I'm not getting really good circles, but that's okay. I'm going to come back and fix all of this in just a second. All right, any of the dots that ran together, I'm just gonna wipe them off with a Q-tip. I use a dry Q-tip to collect what paint needs to be collected. And then I get that same cotton swab wet, just damp, barely damp. And then I wipe off any lingering paint. I let that surface dry, and then I'll replace it. Now, with the little weird dots on the bottom, I made these little blobs down here. I'm just going to turn my dotting tool over, use that 1.5mm side, and just redot them. It's so simple to fix. Y'all, none of this needs to be perfect. It just needs to be art. All right, I seem to be having one of my famous JaDeL moments where I don't know when to stop. So let me call it quits right here. I think this is so pretty. I don't want to mess it up. I'm going to let this stone dry completely, and then I'm going to remove the rest of the guidelines, sign the back of the stone, and then give it a full coat of resin. We'll be back in just a moment to see the final reveal. Right now, I'm going to leave you a full supply recap of everything I used in this video. Links are all down in the description. I hope you find what you need. If not, leave me a comment and I will get you to what you're looking for. Oh man, you guys, this is so pretty. The colors, oh my gosh, if you're a September baby, happy birthday. Look at you with a beautiful color. I am loving it so much. I hope you do too. Now, I want to give a great big happy birthday to my son, my firstborn, my September baby. Y'all, I know it's sappy, but I have the best kids in the entire world. And since it's his birthday, I want to take a minute and let him know how very proud I am to be his mom. Thank you so much for making my world go round. I love you. All right, now I want you guys to go get all the supplies you need down in the description. I want you to check out channel memberships. If you could join, that would be great. If not, subscribe, hit the like button, and share my videos. It all helps. I'm going to leave you a full playlist right here of all of the birthstones. Y'all, these are going to make great gifts for birthdays, for Christmas. What about baby showers? I don't know, y'all. Watch all of these videos, and until next time, rock on.